Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Bottom Line. I had to tell you that Brett is a little under the weather today, so get well, Brett, get better. So in the meantime, I got another co-host here that's a legend in the XFL world.
I'm a legend now. Okay.
Legend in the XFL world that
Okay.
we're gonna bring him into this discussions because we got to grow this USFL, XFL fan base, start pulling together. So I thought I'd bring one of the mainstays on tonight from the XFL and see if we can't make that happen. Guess we're about this much closer to the 2024 season. We know at least it's going to exist, right?
Yes, sir. We know that it is going to exist, and I think the main thing is maintaining knowing who the teams are going to be. That's what's going to be the main thing, Daddy. Grateful to be. Oh Lord, you got the card right there. Are you being?
I got the card. But I know I got a new audience out there, and I know we have to win. The trust of some people over before this really has meat on the bones. So why don't you put up that list that I put out on Facebook before the committee come
Oh,
out with the Final Four?
good grief!
My
All
official
right.
prediction on who the Final Four were going to be before 11 o'clock on
Yeah.
Sunday morning.
There it is.
Now, you'll notice there that not only did I have the top four right, I had the top four in the right order.
In the right order. That's
In
what's
the
even
right order.
more.
That's even more. I mean that. So now that having said that, I'm willing to double down now. I'm going to double down, right?
Oh my goodness, you doubling down on it?
This envelope contains the list of all 8 teams that survived the merger that are going to be part of the 2024 UFL. This
What are you
envelope,
doing?
this
Are you
envelope,
Karnak?
yeah, just call me the Great Karnak of the XFL,
Karnak the
USFL,
Magnificent.
the Karnak of the UFL League. This has titanium alloy tape on it. As you can see, it's shining there. It's glistening. This envelope will not be opened until the 8 teams are revealed. When the 8 teams are revealed, we will go live, and I will tear the corner off of this to reveal the 8 teams, and we'll see if my doubling down. I mean, I have
Pays
no
off.
doubt. I have no doubt in the world that I'm right on this. In fact, I might even get some official predictions from our fans out there, just to see if anybody can reach the level of Karnak status that I have right now.
Right, right. I see that, and I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I'm a we'll put it back up there, put the graphic back up, and it was like, come on, man, really? And I was, and there's another individual on the X Fan show that I have a beef with, and he knows it because that right there, that prediction, it was like I hate him so much for it. I really do. And now I have to hate you for it because you
I wish that how they always do the first man or first out or the lurking and all that kind of stuff. If
right.
I wish I would have put my 5 and 6 up there because I'd have been right on that too. But the
I
top
hate
4,
I
you
hate it.
know.
And then you got the order correct too, so it wasn't like
Oh yeah, I was in my glory. My wife was watching me in full celebration mode
and I'm
Sunday
sitting there
morning.
and I'm like, wow, I cannot believe what I just saw. Like I just had a Jack Buck moment, you know what I mean? So I'm sitting there and I'm
so
like,
I thought
okay,
so I thought tonight, Bings, we don't have the official 8 teams. And there's been 1,000 what do you think shows already.
1,000. What do you think? Yeah.
I thought we would turn to another hot topic, or
Okay.
actually two hot topics, and we would discuss them at length. In fact, we might even have the great debate. And I would like to get into the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
And all I've been hearing on Facebook is all the crying going on about Florida State. Florida State should be in there, and they deserve, and they deserve, and they deserve. So not only are you going to interject the other side, I won't say it, well, I can say it, the wrong side.
Oh my God. Yeah, you might as well call it the wrong side because that's exactly what it became.
I also invited another guest from the XFL Nation. One of the guys that I had to look for because he's kind of in depressed mode, because his team is probably not going to survive the merger. Now, whether he'll be one of those standby teams, we'll find out. But is he checked in yet?
No, he hasn't checked in. He let me know. He said he'll get in when he can. So and that's our guy Jerzey. Jerzey over at the Gridiron Podcast, Jerzey the King. So he'll be with us in due time, we hope. So I gotta talk about this stuff, man. Like I'm hot. It's
Let's
about this
let's
thread,
start.
man.
Let's preface it with this, and then I'll let you go first. Okay.
Go ahead. Preface it.
My side is going to be the voice of reason, and I am going to represent the best. I am going to represent the best four teams, and my very very historic XFL legend A-Train is going to represent the top four that deserved to be in.
Okay. All right. I'll give you that.
Okay.
I'll give you that.
So, but first off, too, before we start, Russ brought up a good point. Tonight it was revealed that Hakeem Butler is now signed an official letter of intent to return to the St. Louis Battlehawks. So look out, Birmingham. Look out, Birmingham.
Hey, I'm glad you brought that up about Birmingham. I did because they signed a former Battlehawk in Kenny Robinson, from 2020. So they went and got free safety Kenny. And Kenny, he was a hard hitter and he made plays when he was with the Battlehawks. So that's gonna be interesting to see what will happen when all of this comes together. And
you know what
back.
though? We'll give him Kenny Robinson because you're never, ever, ever going to see AJ on your sideline. AJ is going to be a St. Louis Battlehawk till the day he dies. Live with it. I don't want to hear Birmingham squawking about AJ belongs in Alabama because it ain't going to happen. He wants to be in St. Louis. He's a Battlehawk for life. He's Anthony Beck's right-hand man. Just get ready. Because isn't it only going to be fitting? Isn't it only going to be fitting that AJ wins 2 national titles for the Alabama Crimson Tide, only to turn around and stick it to him when the St. Louis Battlehawks take home the championship against Birmingham? God, that's justice. That is justice.
Now you're speaking speculation here, man. Like, listen, wide speculation on what could potentially happen here. But I will say to that effect that I would love to see a matchup like that. Our good man Will Freeman coming in saying the Stallions just released Thaddeus Moss, Randy Moss's son. So interesting enough, we'll see what happens when whoever decides to pick him up, if he stays within spring football. I think we got our guests on the docket now, so let's go ahead and bring him in. The other guest co-host tonight There he
And
is.
there he is.
What's going on, gentlemen?
Hey,
Happy Monday.
He's
How are
still
you guys
holding
today?
on hope. He's holding on hope
as he
Yeah.
should.
that the
As
Vegas
he
Vipers are in the Karnak envelope of truth.
They have to be, Ed. Daddy Ed, they have to be. Why would they be having talks of signing a lease with the Las Vegas ballpark? Just saying.
Ooh.
Is this going to actually have grass? Is it going to have stands on the visitor side?
You haven't seen the Las Vegas ballpark yet?
Or you're not
Hey.
talking about Allegiant Field, are you?
No.
We're talking
Well,
about
that's
the new
why I'm
baseball
saying that.
stadium.
Cashman
The reason
Field.
why he
The new
said,
baseball
listen.
stadium for the Las Vegas Aviators AAA team. It's beautiful.
Hey,
It's beautiful.
now what I've heard that Jersey, that the Pro Bowl, when they did their Pro Bowl practice or something, they did some stuff there, so they were able to make a field out for them. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's a
They
great
did it actually-
possibility that could be truth there.
They actually did it like the Raiders Coliseum that they used to play at. That's how they did it. It was set up with, still had the dirt on the field and everything, and they were able to do their Pro Bowl practices and stuff right there at LV Ballpark.
That's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. Hey,
Well, so here's what we're gonna do. I got my daughter, the hyena, Amanda, on the sideline. She's listening to the show, and if you two deservers, there we go. You two deservers start ganging up on me too bad, I'm gonna bring her in to even things out.
even the score.
So Amanda, you better be listening, because if I bring you in, you gotta be crisp, tight, and tell them how it is. All right.
Okay.
So here's what we're gonna do, Jersey. Here's what we're gonna do. We are gonna talk about the college football playoffs. Oh yeah, wait a minute, A-Train. Put that back up on the screen quick, because I just want you to see what my official prediction was Sunday before they come out.
You
Yes,
would have
called you the hyena.
Now, see,
yeah, he did.
see,
He really
Jersey, there is what my prediction was Sunday morning before the names were revealed. Okay.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to let A-Train go first. He's going to do his version of how he would have went about and who would have been in the final four. Then I'll let you go, and then I'll put all of make a good argument. Now make good arguments. Okay?
Okay.
All right, A-Train, take it away.
All right. So I'm gonna say this. These were the four teams that I had that should have been in the college football playoff. I had Michigan, Washington, and Texas. Those were the three teams that I had already initially. And I was like, okay, this year they shouldn't even put an SEC team in because they actually knocked each other out. So, with Alabama winning the SEC championship. So the fourth team that I was choosing was the ACC champion, the Florida State Seminoles. And the reason why I chose them, because they did everything they were supposed to do. Granted, they don't have their starting quarterback in Jordan Travis, but they knocked off all the boxes. Go 13-0. They're in a Power 5 conference. They won their ACC championship. So that's supposed to give them a opportunity to be put in the college football playoff. And so, and all this crap of strength of schedule, and also Florida State not being a viable opponent because now they're going to face off against Georgia, doesn't mean diddly squat to me, because football is football and anything can happen at any given moment. You can say all you want, but here's my thing. When it comes to that, Florida State checked all of the boxes. That is why Florida State deserves to be in the college football playoff. But guess what it lets me know? It lets me know is the ACC will never, ever get a chance to be in the college football playoff because – and then I heard Stephen A. Smith this morning said that TCU ruined it for Florida State. And so I think that's a bunch of crap, but I understand why he said that because of the level of competition. That's not my fault that TCU didn't come out on the field ready to play.
Exactly.
They're not Florida. That's not Florida State. So Florida State could do anything, and that backup quarterback could be ready for anything that's put out there in them. So, well, they only scored 13 points in the ACC championship. Fine, who cares? They still won at the end of the day. And you have no idea what's going to happen from week to week. But that's my argument on that.
Okay, so Jersey, do you have anything different that you can add to make his argument? At least,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's look at it
Now,
like this.
do we need to tell everybody that you're talking through the eyes of a Cowboy fan or anything
A
that?
Nebraska Cornhusker.
Oh my God! And you
Yes.
were they're in my argument. They are in
Go
my
Big Red.
argument. Cool.
Go Big Red.
Go ahead, Jersey. You got the floor.
I look at it like this. Florida State was robbed simply because of the fact that if you consider the ACC a Power 5 conference and they went undefeated, won the conference championship, it shouldn't matter the score. It should not matter the score at all.
You don't believe in style points?
No.
Okay.
Does the NFL believe in style points? Does the NBA believe in style points? Does the NHL believe in style points?
The XFL
No,
believes in style points.
Not when it comes to
What
deciding
kept,
playoffs.
what kept the Battlehawks out of the playoffs?
Unfortunately.
They didn't have enough points.
It wasn't style points. It was points scored in a game.
Hey, if you score 10 points in a game and then all of a sudden you score 50, you scored 50 in style, my man. But
at the end of the day, when we determine the playoffs in these other sports or on a pro level, even in a high school level, it's done by your record. And that's it. It's not done off the strength of schedule. It's not done off of your ranking. It's not done off of any of that. Look at March Madness. Every single team in college basketball has a chance, has a legitimate chance. It doesn't matter your ranking. It doesn't matter any of that. If you go into that region ready to play and you're an underdog who's unranked and you're the 16th seed and you go in there and do your job and you end up in the Sweet 16, the Elite 8 or the Final 4 or even the Final 2, you make history. In college football, you don't get that opportunity. It's based off of these Power 4 conferences because obviously the ACC is not being considered a Power 5 conference anymore because they're not getting that many teams in the top 25 every year consistently like the SEC does. See, one thing everybody has to look at when it comes to this committee, it's like, and Paul Feinbaum made it known to me. I read the subliminal message. I've read through that subliminal context that he tried to say this sentence in. Leaving out an SEC team in the college football playoffs is patently absurd. Patently? So you're telling me that when y'all came up with this whole college football playoff committee idea, the SEC was the #1 conference on your list to make sure that every single year there's a SEC team in it? Alabama doesn't deserve to be in the college football playoff. They lost to Texas.
Yep.
They lost. Period.
And then
Georgia does not deserve to be in the college football playoff. They lost.
Yep.
ACC or not, Florida State, not only did they win their conference championship, but they went undefeated. And hold on. When Jordan Travis went down, who came in? Next man up. The backup quarterback came in and they won the game. Did they not? And they were behind. They were down. He came in and they won the game. By double figures, may I add. Then you put in the third string quarterback in the conference championship game and y'all still win by 10 with a third string quarterback, and you're telling me they don't deserve to be in the college football playoffs because strength of schedule? Really? Strength of schedule has something to do with it? They went out there with a third string quarterback against Liberty's top string #1 quarterback. #1 everything else. Liberty had all their starters, all their players healthy, all their starters on both sides of the ball. Well, all three sides of the ball if you want to include special teams. And what did Florida State go in there and do? Or not Liberty, I'm sorry, Louisville. Sorry, Louisville. What did Florida State go in there and do with a third-string quarterback? Win the conference championship and hold Louisville to 6 points when they're averaging 20 points or more throughout this whole entire 2023 season. So if you're telling me that because Jordan Travis is no longer the starting quarterback for Florida State Seminoles because he's injured, and that's the reason why they don't deserve to be in the college football playoff, that's a load of crap. Because it shouldn't matter who the quarterback is.
Oh, my God.
Jordan Travis does not sit here and throw the ball down the field and then run down the field and catch the ball and then scores a touchdown. Jordan Travis doesn't sit here and hike the ball to himself and become the running back after he's been the quarterback on the same damn play and gain all these yards that the running back's gaining. Jordan Travis wouldn't be doing anything that he's doing, neither would any other quarterback in college football or the NFL without their offensive line. So as long as my offensive line shows the hell up and my quarterback does this job, it shouldn't matter who's starting, right or wrong. Don't worry, I'll wait because I know I'm right. It should not matter who's starting at that quarterback position. It doesn't matter who's starting at the running back position when your top running back gets taken out. Right or wrong, Ed? Come on now.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this quality double-digit win you're talking about. Okay.
It doesn't matter if it's quality.
Let's talk about this quality double-digit win that you're talking about. Florida State played a powerhouse Louisville team. Okay, let's look at Louisville. Okay.
Are we going by the strength of schedule? Are we doing that strength of schedule stuff? Is that what you about to do, Daddy?
Listen, hey, I only interrupt Jersey once, and I didn't interrupt you at all.
No,
so if you two are going to gang up on me, you're going to hear me out.
You have the floor.
Okay?
You have the floor.
Okay, first off, I'll just say, if it's up to you guys, here's our final four matchup. It's Michigan versus Liberty, and it's let's see, Washington versus Florida State. Okay, if that's you guys, that's
Texas.
Hold up.
No, you guys were all about records, beating everybody on the schedule that needed to be beaten. Nobody beat us. We are the shit. Okay. So let's talk top four for you guys. You guys would have had Michigan number 1. You would have had Washington number 2. You would have had Florida State number 3, and you would have Liberty number 4.
Okay.
That would have been number 3.
No, they lost. They're out. No, they're out.
I see what Ed is doing. I see what he's doing too.
So let's talk about this quality win. And I listened to Booger McFarland yesterday on ESPN crying like a baby about how Jersey made that same point. Oh, it's a team. We win and we lose as a team. That's what he says, okay? We could have had a defensive game plan that could have won the game, okay? Let me talk to you about a defensive game plan, okay? Iowa, who has got one of the best defenses in the nation,
got shut out.
Went into that game in Michigan against Michigan for the Big Ten championship, and the announcers were, oh, God, Iowa's defense was just unbelievable. And Lincoln Riley needs to pull up the old Brink truck up to the old defensive coordinator for Iowa because, oh, my God, Iowa's defense is so wonderful. Okay, if they're so wonderful, then how come they still lost 26-0, okay? They lost 26-0 because the Iowa quarterback, who doubled the stats of the Florida State quarterback, mind you, the Iowa quarterback went 18 for 32 for 120 yards. Deacon Hill, that powerhouse quarterback, right? They had 7 total first downs. Time of possession, they had 23 minutes versus Michigan's 37 minutes. Okay? That was supposed to be, they had this master defensive game plan. So what happens? In the first quarter, they give up a punt return. The guy gets knocked out at the 2-yard line, okay? So now this great defensive game plan, they gave up a touchdown right away in the first quarter because of a punt return. Now you got this quarterback who, it doesn't matter if you're a team, you can put any quarterback in there, right? Deacon Hill goes in there. He has 2 turnovers deep in his own territory because he can't feel the pressure, and he gets sacked twice and fumbles the ball and basically gives the game away. So now you got 3 touchdowns or 2 touchdowns and a field goal given up because of dumb plays that aren't to your strength. So you can have it. You can have a defensive game plan all you want. You can go into a game and have a game plan until you don't. And when they had that game plan, Iowa, we're going to make this an ugly game and we're going to just duke it out, keep it low scoring, whatever. What happens? Boom, a couple stupid plays happen. Now they're behind by 2 touchdowns. Our game plan don't mean nothing anymore. Now we got to have an offense. We got to have a team that's well-rounded all the way around. So what do? We have no chance. So we basically have to sit there for 3 hours on a Saturday night when we wanted to watch an exciting Big Ten championship, and we had to watch paint dry because Iowa had no shot of coming back in that game. Okay? So
when you're still in,
did Iowa check all the boxes? Did Iowa deserve to be in that game? Yeah, according to you,
yes.
They did, because they checked all the boxes. They won the West Division of the Big Ten. They checked all the boxes of winning the West Division.
Bucks.
Hey, that's my turn. It's my turn now.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is right now. That is Daddy S.
Oh my God! Listen, this is just getting started. I haven't even started yet.
I know, but hold on.
So there's your game plan, right? You're leaving it on the rest of the team. We don't need our quarterback. Like hell, you don't need a quarterback. But anyway, let's go with your thought. Let's go with your thought, okay? So now let's go with Power 5 conferences. We got 5 of them.
Right.
What would you say out of the Power 5 conferences, which conference was the weakest of the Power 5? And don't be a homer here. Tell me who's
the ACC.
It was
how many top spots is there? How many top spots is there? There's
and
4.
how is that fair?
Okay.
Then why do you have 5 Power 5 conferences?
Let's go into this quality win you're talking about against Louisville, okay?
But why have quality?
Louisville lost to Kentucky, who was 7-5 the week before that. They were 7-5. Oh yeah, common opponents. Let's talk about common opponents. Alabama beat Kentucky 49. They put a 49 burger on Louisville. Florida State was able to scratch out 16. Woo! Let's go with that 16, all right? Then who was their other loss? Who did Louisville lose to? They lost to a 3-9 Pittsburgh team. Okay? So this powerhouse ACC championship game that you're referring to, where Florida State's quarterback eked out. Let's talk about the Florida State quarterback. He had 2 first downs passing the ball. He had 55 yards passing for the whole game. Tyreek Hill has more yards than that on 1 catch in the first quarter. And you're talking about a whole game.
Because it shouldn't matter.
55 yards.
It shouldn't matter.
Oh, my God.
That should not matter. Did they win the game?
Oh, my God. So
did they win the game?
Did you watch the Michigan-Iowa game Saturday night? Did you watch it?
I turned it off because it was a blowout.
Right.
What was the point of watching the whole?
And they doubled down on Florida. I mean, oh my God.
So what? Oh,
So you want to see a powerhouse like Michigan go up against Florida State. Florida State gets down, let's say just by happenstance. Michigan puts up a 10-burger in the first quarter. Are you telling me with Michigan's defense at Florida State, I mean, we could have went out and went golfing or something. That game would have been over in the first
ball
quarter.
to those quality receivers that Florida State has. Guess what?
You
As
gotta
a
get
third
the
string
ball to
quarterback, I have
them.
a chance.
You
Hold
got
on,
to get the ball to them.
All right.
Oh my God.
Okay, and that does, and who is that on? The offensive line, right or wrong?
Oh, God. Oh,
All right.
my
All
God.
right. All right.
Oh, my
Okay.
God. So, anyway,
I have to
so
remember.
Who is Patrick
Hold on, go
Mahomes
ahead.
doing things in the NFL without his
So you're
offensive
gonna
line?
tell me? So you're gonna tell me that
on,
that
the
Florida
offensive line
State's
important
win,
more? Why are
Florida
they in the
State's
game?
win
This is
over
football.
Louisville was more impressive than Alabama beating Georgia after
No.
Georgia was two-time defending
Okay.
champion, #1 in the nation all year long. They beat them for the first time in 3 years. And you're going to tell me that style points, the big win over Louisville, should have catapulted them
Right.
into the top 4.
This is what
No,
I'm going to
what
say.
I'm saying
Go ahead.
is the way the playoff is set up in college football sucks. It
Absolutely.
sucks.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
The way they have it set up, you don't give teams a real chance. At the end of the day, you know what they should do? They should expand the college playoffs to where every single conference championship winner is in the college playoff. That's how it should be. Because
And-
now you have it set up to where you ain't got to worry about the teams that didn't win the conference. Now it's just about the teams who won their conference.
Now, this is
Now
what
it's
I'm
just
afraid
conference
of.
champions in the college football playoff. Let's do it like
Jersey.
that.
Jersey, this is what I'm afraid of. With that point that you just said, you got teams like the MEAC, the SWAC, the
So
Ivy
what?
League. Listen.
So
listen,
what?
Me
listen.
go and the band to go and
But no, this is based off of what they chose with the Power 5 conferences. But Daddy Ed, this will let you know that the ACC will never get those opportunities because, like Jersey said, the SEC is the end all be all. They have to be there. And that's
Yep.
sad.
What?
That is horrible.
what?
If Michigan would have lost,
Why do
if
you
Michigan would've
guys?
lost,
Why do
it
you
wouldn't be
guys want to
even as a Big
watch?
Ten school.
Why do you guys want to watch snoozer games?
See,
And
and
the
that's the
reason I say
problem.
that,
That's
why
the
do I?
problem.
Because
Every team to get a chance.
no, it is not. Because here's the deal.
But you watch it in basketball.
When
But
when
you'll
Notre
watch it
Dame
with
when
basketball.
Notre Dame was this big when Notre Dame was this big independent that was this powerhouse had that one good season, we had to let them into the national championship playoffs, didn't we? And when Notre Dame got in the playoffs, what happened? They got schooled. It was a joke.
So what?
They didn't belong in there.
So what?
Who
It
wants
doesn't
to
matter
watch
if you
that?
belong.
It's like the NCAA basketball championships. When you go to the road to the Final Four, everybody loves these Rudy moments. Rudy. We want all these
We
teams
love
in there.
upsets. Upsets are
Yeah,
great.
you love upsets, but all it does is make for boring blowout games farther down the road. Oh
Butler,
my God.
VCU, Florida home last season.
Sir.
God.
What do you mean? Come on.
Hey, so there was
It's like, you guys, I tell you what.
wait. So here's the thing.
So you want the college football playoff set up to
No,
where
here's what you
season
need to do.
it's just
You
a
want
big
to fix it?
hold on. You want the college football playoff set up to where every season it's a Big Ten team, a SEC team, what's the other Power 5 conferences?
Big 12.
Big 12 team. And
Here's what you do. Here is what you do.
Let's
do it.
The Pac-12.
Let's-
What are we going to do?
Let's
Now-
do well. The
now-
Pac-12, the Pac-12 after this year,
Is dead.
It's the
it's
Pac-4.
dead. So
what
now
are we
you
gonna
got.
That's a
Now
Power
you
5
do
conference.
have a
We got
Power
Big
4.
Store.
Now you do have a Power 4. But
Then how does that make that fair for any other team?
Here is what you'd have to do. Number one, they have to get rid of the archaic bowl games. Throw every bowl game out that there is.
Yes.
And have a
Have
national
12
championship game.
If you want to say 12 division winners, I don't care if you want to go to the Abandigo division, whatever. If you want to do 12 division winners, 4 wild cards, make a 16-team field, get rid of all the bowls. So now, our second discussion is going to have to do with these players that want to sit out the bowl games because they're afraid of getting a hangnail. We'll talk about that later. But get rid of all these bowl games that don't mean squat anyway, because you're starting to see the bowl games look ridiculous because nobody goes anymore because they don't mean anything. So it's just a bunch of empty seats. It's just a corporate sponsorship. That's all it is.
And I'm so glad you brought that up.
Get rid of the bowl games, period. Expand the field. Do it like the NCAA basketball tournament. 12, 4 wild cards, 16-team field. Forget about the bye weeks, because according to you guys, there is nobody that's a number 1 or a number 2 seed that's worthy of a bye week because we're all one big happy family. So we're going to go. So we're going to go.
What do you mean? I never said take away a bye week. What are you talking about?
God.
They should get another bye week added. If you're going to do the college football playoff like a March Madness style, they need to add another bye week, and that needs to be during the tournament.
Hey, Amanda, is Amanda running the switchboard?
When did I ever say any of this?
If Amanda is running the switchboard, could you ever find a Rudy? So every time you guys talk in the background, you can hear Rudy.
Okay.
Train back. I will say this, please.
I will say this. Look, Daddy Ed, you have just threw out a point about removing the bowl games,
BS
stuff,
bowl
right?
games.
So today on social media, Caleb Williams had announced that he was not participating in the Holiday Bowl, right? So I actually got in a debate with the person on social media about Caleb Williams' decision. I was for Caleb's decision. Others, the person that I was debating was not. He said it's a red flag. He saw it as that was selfish. He's thinking that he's full of himself. And I said, well, check this out. What about Caleb's potential NFL draft stock? He plays in the game and then he gets hurt. What if he, potentially gets hurt? He loses out on draft stock. And plus, this is a useless bowl game that he's in. This ain't like he's going for the national title. It'd be different if it was the case. Then he probably would be playing in it. But he was like, oh, it's about being with your teammates. The teammates want to play and stuff like that. Like, are you serious? Let them play then. I'm like, but as for Caleb Williams, if he chooses not to play, he's like, oh, that's red flag. What's that going to mean for when he gets to the NFL? You don't freaking know. You don't know what his mentality is.
When he gets to the NFL?
Yeah,
that means he's preparing himself now for the NFL.
Right, and he's thinking that as a teammate that he's going to be bad because he chose to be selfish about himself more than he is the team. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you got a good point, but my thing is, he's thinking about his draft status, and that's where he's at, man. That's his future. This is about his family.
Just like any other player that's talked about being in the draft, this upcoming draft next season, I guarantee you, if it's not the national championship or any of these college football playoff games, how many of those guys you think is really going to play?
Exactly.
They're worried about their future because at the end of the day, I'm playing in like you said, a useless bowl game. This bowl game means nothing. Oh, we won the Holiday Bowl.
You said any college player that skips.
We won the Holiday Bowl. They want to win a national championship. They want to feel like their college basketball counterparts and say, hey, we went through this tournament, we went through this gauntlet, and we won the national championship and proved we're the best team in the country because we went through a gauntlet. Sitting here playing Western Kentucky, Eastern Michigan, freaking UAB, teams that don't matter, and you're going off of strength of schedule in college football.
Look,
half the teams in Power 5, not to cut you off, half the teams in Power 5 conferences, if you pay attention, half the teams in Power 5 conferences, look at the early part of their schedules. They're playing weak teams. They're playing teams that are, some of them are in FCS.
Money games. They're money games.
And you're going to talk about strength of schedule?
So the only thing I would say is, as the format sits currently, I agree 100% with what you guys are saying. But there's an easy fix. Expand the field, eliminate bowl games, make a playoff, a true 16-team playoff, where every team that gets put in has a shot to win the Big Cheese. That'll change. Suddenly, when you put skin in the game, that quarterback, if they have any ounce of competition, competitiveness in them at all, they're going to chase that potential national championship.
Yeah, that's why I say add all conference championship winners and just make it to that way. Because if you add all conference championships, you can't sit here and tell me that an undefeated Liberty team can't go into Alabama or Texas or Michigan or any. I'm just saying, you got to look at it for what it is.
Did we not see Appalachian State?
Exactly. James Madison University was undefeated, and Appalachian State came in there and whooped on them. I'm just saying, it's just like in the NFL. Any given Sunday, any given Saturday, we see it all the time with upsets. Unranked teams, unranked teams who ain't even famous are getting upset victories over ranked opponents in the top 25 AP. So if that's possible of happening, and we've seen it with our own eyes in our lifetime, we've seen it. Why not change it up to where teams like New Mexico State, who did a hell of a job this year, even though they lost to Liberty in the what is that, Conference USA, I believe they're in the Conference USA.
Yeah, they did.
Even though they put up a hell of a fight, they had a hell of a season these last couple seasons to put themselves in a winning situation. They still had a winning record. They still had 10 wins, or 9 wins, 8 wins. They're like, you can't sit here and look past teams who have winning records and make it to a conference championship game. If you're going to expand the field to 16 or 32, if you're going to expand this field to 32, you have to look at it from a different standpoint, because now you have to look at best in the conference, second best in the conference. But if we're going to just go extend it to 16, then let's do all the conferences in college football.
Okay.
Hey, Trey, put John David's comment back up on the screen.
Any college player that skips bowl games should pay the school back for their education.
What do you think about that, A-Train? Okay, Train, take it away.
Why do I got to give up my education just because I'm skipping a bowl game? If it's it's a useless bowl game. You know,
I could end my career.
A useless bowl game. And if I get hurt, then what? Is the school gonna pay me for being hurt? You're gonna pay my bills in the hospital? They're not gonna do a thing. They're not doing nothing with that. Not doing anything. So you want me to give back my education because I'm skipping a bowl game? And plus, now we in NIL
on a scholarship. I came to this school on a scholarship, so I can't choose to skip. I gotta pay the school for something that's already being paid for. You're funny, John.
See, right, and I knew he was gonna mention that because it's an NIL thing. The name, image, and likeness and stuff.
They deserve it. They deserve it. These individual kids are making money for these schools. Their name, image, and likeness are making money for these schools. So why the hell should they get paid for them making money for that school? If you, John, was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, and you went to the University of Alabama or the University of Oregon or something like that, and as a freshman, you busting their ass on the field. You're the number one player on your team because you're the starting quarterback and you're good. You mean to tell me if your team doesn't make it to a meaningful bowl game and you have an opportunity after 2-3 years of being the best player on your team, you have an opportunity of being the number one draft pick in the NFL. Not a first rounder, but the number one overall draft pick. Referring to Caleb Williams. You mean to tell me you're going to go to the Holiday Bowl and give it your all? The Holiday Bowl, bro? When you went to the school on a scholarship, whether it was academically or athletically, you went to the school on a scholarship. Why should I have to pay you, this school who's making money off of boosters, who has enough money to sit here and pay the NCAA to be in a certain conference, and this is that and the third? Why should I have to pay for my education because I decided to skip out on a bowl game that means nothing to me, or this school, and I could possibly have not only a season-ending injury, but possibly a career-ending injury? I'm supposed to pay the school back? Think about that. That's all I gotta say about that. I'm just
John
saying.
said his other thing: play better if you don't want to play in a stupid bowl.
You
Florida
like
State,
Stephen A. Smith.
Florida State played great,
Like Stephen
and
A.
they playing in a stupid bowl. They're not
Stupid
playing for
bowl.
no championship. They're not playing for a
Georgia.
championship.
I feel like we need to
Stupid
send
bowl
John
game.
a Lincoln. I think we need to send John a Lincoln, let him come on and defend himself. You guys are being
Man,
kind
man,
of
listen, John don't want none. John
You don't want
none.
smoke because I'm gonna rip you up, Don. You really think that
Listen,
these kids they should be paying for missing a bowl game? Man, screw that damn bowl game. It ain't the national championship game. And if these other
let's also talk
bowl
about
game, let
Hold
them
on.
let's
go ahead
also
and do
talk
that.
about the
But I'm not-
requirement.
Shh, Jersey. Shh.
Let's also
Go
talk
ahead,
about
sorry.
let's also talk about the requirement of being a conference champion to get in to the playoffs. I mean, let's look back at the 80s. Clear back at the 80s when I know a couple of you guys were probably still pipe dreams back in the 80s.
86 baby right here.
Oh my God.
84.
I remember
84,
all those days where the Big 8 was supposed to be all that. And every year it come down to Nebraska versus Oklahoma to see who got to go down to the Orange Bowl and play one of the Florida schools, sign any one of them up, whatever you want to do. Every year we got to watch Nebraska go down there and a big, slow Midwest team goes up against speed, and every game we got to sit there by halftime and because Nebraska is already down 28-0 in the second quarter, and it's like, come on,
Don't talk
and
about it.
even using your argument of any given day anybody can come up and beat anybody. Well, if that's the case, if you still want to have the argument in the room about who the 4 best teams are, they're not necessarily conference champions.
Georgia is in one. Alabama is in one. I don't give a damn what Georgia did last year or the year before, because why? That was last year and the year before. What about this year? That's what year we're
Let
in.
me see. That was last year, the year before that, and this year they were undefeated. I'd say
No,
that's
they
a
didn't
pretty
go
long-
undefeated. They didn't go undefeated. Why? Because they have a loss on their record. So when it comes down to the final standings,
And who
whether
did
it's
it?
regular season plus
Bang! It
conference
was
championship,
Alabama who did it.
so what? Alabama got beat by Texas, so Texas deserves to be in. Michigan honestly doesn't even deserve to be
And
in
you'll
because they're in
notice,
the middle of a cheating scandal.
You'll notice Karnak here had Texas above Alabama too.
Which they did do that. But here's my thing. It seems like the only clean-cut team that deserves to be there is the Washington Huskies. The only reason why I say that is
Only one.
because my pick for the Heisman is Michael Penix Jr.
Damn right.
Like I know he had a weird couple of games. You know, it seemed like that Washington was going to go down in flames and they were going to lose, but they ended up getting wins out of them. And then they wind up winning the Pac-12 because of Penix, right? So I'm sitting here now, and I think it's this upcoming weekend is the Heisman Trophy presentation. He better walk away with that award. Wow, Jamar Chase just ran one back for a touchdown, yo.
They just actually announced the finalists. It's what is his name?
Jalen Milroe.
No, the kid from LSU, the quarterback from LSU.
Oh, really?
Jalen Daniels. Yep, Jalen Daniels, Michael Penix Jr., I believe, Bo Nix, and Marvin Harrison Jr.
As he should be. He should be there.
The four Heisman candidates.
Yeah, yep. They said Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Jaden, I call him Jalen. Sorry, it's Jaden.
So do you consider Michigan the number one team in the nation?
No.
Michigan cheated to get where they're at. Whether we want to look at it the way we look at it, whether we want to believe it or not.
So you're gonna tell me
the Washington Huskies are the number one team in the country.
So you're gonna tell me that back to the ages of time when they were playing football without face masks, that they never stole signals.
The fact that they got
caught. So what? Everybody, they've done
it. What do you mean? So what?
They've done it for years. They've done it for years.
They put this kid on the sideline and told him, dress up in their gear, put on a shirt, a polo shirt that has their logo on it, and put on a hat that has their logo on it, and go stand your dumb ass on the sideline.
Why do you
steal their signs?
Why do you think they got caught? Why do you think they put 4 knotheads on the sideline of every game with different colors on, different signs, and they're all over there doing this and holding up signs and doing all this? They're trying to keep the other team from stealing their signs. It's done every game. They just decided that they needed to make an example of somebody, and they did. And did it make any difference? No, it didn't. Because Michigan still won the whole damn thing.
They did it against weak-ass teams. Western Michigan, you had to steal Western Michigan sign.
Okay, so.
Come on. Come on, Western Michigan. They had to steal
if you got Ohio State and you got Michigan, okay? Ohio State and Michigan were both undefeated until they played each other the last week of the regular season. Right? One of them wins at the very end. Okay? So now the other one, since they're not a conference champion, has no ability to make the college playoffs when if one thing would have went different in the game, it could have been the other outcome. So you're telling me that 1 and a 1A, the 1A is automatically out, and somebody like Liberty that happens to be 11-0, 25th ranked in the nation, should be in the top 4 just because they're undefeated, and the other one had 1 loss and wasn't a conference champion.
See, the thing is, if it's a Power 5 school, and because it's a Power 5 school, that they should have been placed in it. That's the only reason why I'm making that argument. Well, I wouldn't have made the argument. I know we talk about how Liberty was 13-0 and they didn't receive, and they did get a New Year's Six bowl, but they're playing in the Conference USA. That's not looked at.
But your argument doesn't hold water, A-Train, because at the end of the day, there was 5 power conferences. There's only 4 spots. So at the end of the day, you're going to have that discussion. One of the 5 is going to be left out regardless of what their record.
So why
it should have been the SEC
be left out this year?
And why didn't it? Because they know already about the SEC and that bankroll that they have. They're
continually absurd, as Paul Feinbaum.
We got to make sure we got to have a good school in.
To get the money that you would.
Anybody and their uncle who under the gun was required to rank the Power 5 conferences top to bottom for strength. Just like I said with Nebraska. When Nebraska played in the Big 12, every year it come down to Nebraska versus Oklahoma. And they always ended up with one loss, possibly two by the time they got done losing their bowl game.
Don't talk about
Why
like that.
why did they – I said when Nebraska went to the Big 10, they were never going to be more than a 500 team because top to bottom, the Big 10, every game you had to bring it. You had to play a quality game every game in the Big 10. What's happened since Nebraska has been in the Big 10? They've been irrelevant. They've been irrelevant. They've been nothing but a 500 team. And that's because for the first time in their history, they played in a conference that was quality, that was good from the top to the bottom. And they haven't been able to hang, period.
You're talking about Matt Brown's Texas Longhorns wasn't relevant?
No.
For a lot of years, Texas wasn't irrelevant. Why did they fire their legendary coach? Because he was losing. And once he was out and they brought in another coach, Texas wallowed for a while there. They're now coming back. They're now coming back. So, yes, they are legit. So now that they're legit, what did they say? We got to go to the SEC where the quality's at. That's why they went to the SEC. They wanted to play better competition. You look at the Big 12, you got maybe 3 or 4 schools in the Big 12. Other than that, the rest of them are garbage.
Watch how recruiting changes all that. Because they're in the Big 12. They're in a Power 5 conference. Recruiting will change all of that. And it's shown over time. Look at these teams that over the 2010s was irrelevant or used to be relevant in the 2000s and in the 90s and was irrelevant during the 2010s. Now look at them in 2020, 2021, 2022, they're back. It took 10 years, but they're back.
So what's Nebraska's excuse? They change coaches every 2 to 3 years, and every time they bring in a new coach, this is going to be the guy that's going to bring us back to the honest to God truth is Lincoln is out in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing to do. It's colder than hell in the wintertime, and all your 5-star athletes want to be where the money and the attention that's going to get them the high draft pick to get into the NFL.
Exactly.
And
that's the problem with NCAA football. It's all about money. It's all about why. This ain't the NFL. Why is it all about money? The transfer portal should be popping every single season. There should be players leaving from big schools and being able to go to a school in their home damn town or their home state that they're from and make a difference and have an opportunity to play for a national championship if they're one of those players that make a difference on that team to make them better. The way it's set up now is a bunch of crap. And it doesn't give everyone an equal opportunity. Nothing should be based off of your Power 5 or your strength of schedule. It shouldn't be based off of conferences. It shouldn't be based off of strength of schedule. It should be based off your record. It should be based off of what you do on that field when it comes to winning and losing, not how you win the game. Even though Florida State only won 16-6 and won the conference championship 16-6 and didn't blow out their team by 40 or 50 points, that shouldn't matter. What should matter is the fact that they went into that game, played their damn hearts out, and came out with a win and won and went undefeated. That's what should matter. The record. Not any of that other BS.
Right. It never will.
And that's the problem with college football.
Yep, big problem. All right, go ahead. Go ahead and get the last word on it.
Just one quick thing. Speaking of the transfer portal, since you brought it up, could I just make a plea, a desperate plea to the quarterback of the Ohio State Buckeyes who went into the transfer portal today?
Oh, yeah.
Iowa needs a quarterback, please.
That's like
We've got the defense. We got everything you need to win a national championship. Please come to
Hey,
Iowa.
they got like 6-7
Kyle
schools that's
McCord.
after this dude.
Ain't that his name?
Please
I
come
believe
to
his name is
Iowa.
Kyle McCord.
Yeah.
Please
You
come
get
to
to
Iowa.
wave to the
Daddy Ed is
children's hospital
begging.
at the end of the first quarter. You get to wave to the children's hospital. It's the best. It's the best event. I went to the Iowa-Nebraska game last year. It's one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah,
And
I
so-
seen it with the Iowa girls basketball team, and they actually put the basketball stadium outside on the
Yeah.
field. It was so cool, and they got to wave at the kids, and yo, that's actually super lit. Can't even lie. I love that about Iowa. And when I lived in Nebraska, and I would go to the Nebraska Iowa games, that was one thing that I did like growing up, being able to see that. So, Kyle
Just
McCord,
remember,
Daddy Ed's
deserve
pleading. He's begging.
Deserve does not equal best. Iowa, by the rules of the Big Ten, deserved to be in the championship game,
Oh,
but they
my
were
gosh.
by far not the best teams.
All right.
So
Kansas City
I'll
Chiefs
leave it at
lost to the
that.
Green Bay Packers last night.
Stop it. And they ain't the best, and they're not the best team in. They're not the best team in the NFL.
But they're the
right now.
reigning, defending Super Bowl champions because they're the reigning, defending. Why does that matter? Why does last year matter? Why does the
Nobody
year
wants
before
to
matter,
play-
Daddy Ed?
Put up John's comment.
Hold on, before I
does
pull
any of
up
that
John's
matter?
comment, this is some breaking news that came out, and it was said long before. NBC will not carry any of the new spring league games from the USFL and XFL because of conflicting schedules between golf and NASCAR. Plus, they also, I know that's going to be later in the season because they also got the Olympics too. So a lot of that is going to happen. So it'll be ABC, ESPN, Fox, and FS1. Which, if
That's
I
beautiful.
remember correctly. If I remember this is 3 years ago all over again.
Mm-hmm.
That's
But
3
that's
years ago
beautiful.
all over again. So I'm glad to see that those 4 networks are all part of it. He said with John, nobody wants to play for Iowa.
The only thing I'll say to John on that, be careful about what you want to dish out, because we're soon going to find out if Mizzou's all that when they play Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I understand that. I understand that sentiment very well. Can we talk a bit about some NFL? Are you guys good for that?
I'm loving it.
You love that?
Well,
Right.
you got. If you want to talk NFL or you want to talk the Cowboys. If you want to talk Cowboys,
No, I'm not talking. Listen, we can talk the Cowboys all day, but I'm not going to talk about them just primarily
I'm not.
in this conversation.
1 second, guys. I got to use the restroom. I'll be right
Oh, he did say it. He said it too. Okay, so what I have been seeing lately in the NFL, a lot of people been complaining about the style of play and stuff like that. And I'm sitting around and I'm like, yesterday is a good example. Green Bay versus Kansas City. There were a couple of there are a bunch of horrible calls that wasn't called, and they're now the NFL themselves are calling into the officiating of like they need a new system. So is it the time now, Ed, that it's time for you ready for the robots? Are we needing something a little bit more AI to come in and see if they can call the game better than humans?
I am. The reason why I'm probably not a good. Well, I got to try and take my Homer hat off for a minute. I watched that game last night, and growing up, I've been a Vikings fan for over 50 years now, and so I've had a passionate dislike of the Packers for a lot of years. Last night, I looked at Mama Bear and I said, if this game is not proof that the NFL has their darlings, that they go above and beyond to make sure that they're relevant year in and year out, this is a perfect example. Because if it would have been a Vikings-Chief game and the Vikings would have done that, those last couple plays of the game, oh my God, there would have been so many flags on that field, they would have had to sift through them. They would have had to sift through them to get through that. So That was so blatant. Now, I will give you on a Hail Mary, I agree. Unless a player is actually pulled to the ground, they've basically been a referee on a Hail Mary that it's a free-for-all, baby. Go get it. So I understand the Travis Kelce non-call on the Hail Mary because that's the way they've always called it. But that play before that, they had an NFL referee come on and explain that play that wasn't called pass interference. And he talked about the 6 referees playing zone and watching different zones. And when the ball goes in the air, all these referees are focusing in on the ball. He just made himself look like a knothead because now he's got 6 referees looking at that play where he is all over him and not one of them pulled the flag. If I was the backfield coach standing behind the quarterback and the play was 50 yards down the field, I still would have threw my flag and just said, oh, they must have forgot, and got in a group and talked it out because how do you miss calls like that? You know, when you talk about the game of inches, the quality of the NFL that any given team can win on any given week, and a dub is a dub, and every win means something, and you want to stack as many as you can get. A game like last night cannot happen like that. It's got to be decided on the field. And when you let flags or no flags determine games, it's just wrong.
So that's the topic right now, Jersey, is, you know, we talking about the Chiefs and Packers last night, especially how there were several missed calls, 2 big ones in the final, I'll say 2-3 minutes of the ball game. There was blatant calls that was missed. And so I asked him, was there anything that, you know, should be different? Because they're saying there are some people, especially in the NFL, coaches are saying, hey, it's got to be time to have a different officiating system. I asked Ed, would he want to see more AI, since now artificial intelligence is starting to run rampant now on the internet. Is it now time to start utilizing that for these games? And will it be helpful or harmful?
In my opinion, adding AI will be harmful. Keeping the officials will be harmful. No matter which way you go, it's not going to matter. And the only reason why I say that, honestly, the only reason why I say that is because I've been a firm believer for years that the NFL is fixed and rigged. I've been a firm believer that since the NFL is classified as a sports entertainment company like the WWE, I don't believe that the outcomes of the games are real. So aside from that, that's why I think it will be bad on either part. Yeah, they need a new officiating crew. This whole season, games have been decided by the refs. Philly went through their first, 12 weeks with the refs on their side. You can go back and watch, I don't know how many games. Philly is the least penalized team in the league. But I'm just saying, like the Jets game, the Jets-Chiefs game, you called a pass interference on an interception when the receiver is nowhere near the ball where it was intercepted at, but you called a pass interference? How? You completely robbed the Jets of them having a chance to go and try for a field goal to tie the game up. Because the way Zach Wilson was playing in that game, regardless of how bad we want to talk about how bad Zach Wilson is, in that game he was playing at a high enough level to where the Chiefs would have lost that game.
A couple years ago, I would have said, no way, the NFL's fixed. No way.
Missed opportunity.
But this time around, well, let's take since I'm a Vikings fan, let's talk about the Minnesota Viking game against the Denver Broncos. That had nothing to do with, I'm not bringing up any referee calls. I'm just strictly going by flow of the game. That whole game, the Viking defense stymied the Broncos. The only thing the Broncos could get was field goals. So why suddenly when you've blitzed the whole game, the last drive of the game, when Denver needs a touchdown to win and they haven't got a touchdown the whole night, they go right down the field, and the Vikings never blitzed once on the final drive. When they blitzed the whole freaking game, they went into the old prevent defense that prevents you from winning. They went right down the field and scored the touchdown at the end. And I looked at Mama Bear and I said, you know what? I'm starting to believe more and more that these games are because it made no sense.
Okay.
None.
No sense.
And if we're sitting on the couch, we're not paid 6-7 figures that coaches are paid, and we're not watching the hours and hours of game film that these coaches are watching, the players are watching. I'm just the average Joe sitting on the couch, and I can sit there and watch the flow of the game and be completely stymied that whole last drive and be screaming at the TV, blitz, bring the house, and they don't do it time and time and time again. That's what makes me think I'm starting to believe more and more that
two games of memory come to me that made me have some of these feelings that Jerzey's had. And what you're starting to have now, Ed, is that there was the Patriots against the Raiders in the AFC title game where the tuck rule was because they didn't want the Raiders.
You mean the Tom Brady rule? You mean the Tom Brady rule A?
Yes. Wait, because here's the crazy thing about that whole year. That game and then the Super Bowl itself against the Rams. I thought that game was rigged too. But before I even say that, I blame Mo Lewis. I blame Mo Lewis for the last 22 years. And the reason why I've done it, Mo Lewis ain't played on a football field, and God knows when. The reason why I say that is because he was the one that knocked out Drew Bledsoe and led to Tom Brady, right? So I do that as my little funny joke right there, right? So, but here's the thing. In that game, in the Super Bowl that year, when the Patriots and the Rams both went at it, remember, going into the fourth quarter, it was 17-3, right? The Rams, who had a high-power offense, wasn't getting anything. Nothing. All of a sudden, they changed it up. They gave the ball to Marshall Faulk. They scored twice, both drives. They gave the ball to Faulk, and it's tied 17-17 going to the final minute. And it led to the field goal that won the game, and it made it historic, and it made it patriotic. And I'm not putting politics in it, but I'm saying that was the reason, because of the 9/11 thing. That was the reason why I thought the Patriots were going to win that Super Bowl anyway. And that's why I thought then that it was rigged. And so, I'm sitting back.
Sorry, look at the logos for the last few Super Bowls. Look at the colors of the logos for the last few Super Bowls. If you notice, the colors match specific teams. Last year, the logo color was what?
Red.
Red for the Chiefs.
Green.
Who did they play in the Super Bowl?
Green for the Eagles. Right?
This year, it's purple and red. I'm telling you who's going to be in the Super Bowl this year. No matter how good my Cowboys may come back and play, no matter how good the Eagles may do in the NFC, no matter how good the Dolphins may do in the AFC or any other team, Baltimore and the 49ers are in your Super Bowl this year. I guarantee you.
I thought you was going to say the Vikings. I was so hopeful. When you said purple. When you said purple, I got closer to the screen because I thought,
Jerzey, if that happens, I guarantee you, hey, we doing a show on the spot. We doing a show on the spot.
Okay, I know. So with your theory,
just like how players trip over grass on the turf. What grass? What are you tripping over to miss these wide open tackles? just start paying attention to what these games really show you, man. You got a guy running down the field off a 30-yard catch, right? But you have a defender who has the angle on him And the defender comes to that angle, and they're going towards that angle, and they're going towards that angle. Then when they get close to you, they start to straighten up. And then all of a sudden, they went from being on an angle to where they had you beat, and they could stop you from scoring this wide open touchdown. To now, they done ended up behind you and then tripped over nothing for a diving tackle. Yeah, okay.
There's one major thorn in your argument, though. You want to hear it?
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Who's one of the darling owners of the NFL?
Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones. So are you telling me
to a Super Bowl in 30 years?
And so you're telling me that America's team, they still want to call them America's team, that the NFL isn't going to give America at least one?
Nope.
You want to know why? Because if you keep a team like the Dallas Cowboys, who's America's team, you keep that team relevant without them winning anything relevant, you've done your job as Jerry Jones. He's best friends with Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith gets on this man's helicopter. He smokes cigars and wears cowboy hats with him and talks all this crap about the Cowboys on First Take constantly. You cannot go 1 week, let alone 5 days out the damn week. You can't go 1 week without hearing on First Take them talking about the Cowboys. The Cowboys have been relevant even when they're losing.
Yep.
We have not made the NFC Championship game since January of 1995. And every single year since January of 1995, every single season afterwards, we've been relevant. Whether we're losing or not, we've been the topic of conversation.
2025, baby. The year of the Vikings.
Purple and green is in it.
You see my Super Bowl logo for 2025 has purple in it.
Now, who's the team in green in the AFC? Jacksonville Jaguars.
No way. Get out of here, man.
Jacksonville, Minnesota.
Just as long as
believe you.
Just as long as it's not the Packers,
Minnesota.
Man. Just as long as it's not the Packers.
No, it won't be, because if he has Minnesota for the purple, represent.
Well, yeah, as long as it's Minnesota, but if it's not Minnesota, it better not be okay. All right.
But yes.
If you're looking at an NFC, if you're looking at a Super Bowl like that, we're looking at possibly the Vikings and the Jaguars, or
it said the Jets. Remember Aaron Rodgers?
Jets, who's not injured. Everybody out there, pay attention. If you tear your Achilles, it takes at least 12 months, 12 real life physical months to rehab and recover. Aaron Rodgers was never hurt.
I think, wait a minute, to Mike's comment, I think Mike, wait. I think if he's going to align with the whole Brett Favre situation, he's got to go to the Vikings. Daddy Ed, would you accept Aaron Rodgers as a Viking?
When Brett Favre was a Green Bay Packer, I hated him until I loved him. But if Rodgers ever becomes a Viking, I'm out.
You're out?
I'm out.
I don't blame you.
Aaron Rodgers is the biggest chump. He is the NFL version of DiNucci. He has no class at all. It's not, the league isn't just about Aaron Rodgers, and he wants it to be that way. And when you're talking about the XFL and the Seattle Sea Dragons, it was never about Seattle. All it was about DiNucci. That's all he cared about. Every time DiNucci didn't have a good game or there was bad plays in the game, it was always his receiver's fault. And he called him out on national TV on his way off the field. So Aaron Rodgers,
he deserved to call out Josh Gordon on that shit. I'm sorry, excuse my language. I'm sorry. He deserved to call Josh Gordon out on that.
Well,
I see the play, and I agree with DiNucci by doing that, because come on, dude.
It's
Josh Gordon missed that play. You ran a whole different route than what you were supposed to run. And then you ain't even feel bad. Like most receivers who do that, they be like, that's on me. That's on me. I'll take full responsibility. He was like, man, that's on you, bro. I ain't even, you should have been more clear. like he took no fault and he accepted no responsibility when it comes to that play specifically. He took no responsibility in him doing wrong and running the wrong route.
To this day, I can't stand the Packers. I can't stand. They're number one on the list. I can't stand. Number two is the Saints, because the year that the Vikings had Brett Favre, it's 2008 or 2009.
When the Saints
when they had the bounty game, even if the Vikings would have pulled that game out, he wouldn't have been able to play in the next game, because the pictures that come out after that game of what he looked like and what his leg looked like was so gross. And the fact that man can coach the Denver Broncos and people like him, even give him the time of day. The guy served a year suspension because his defensive coordinator had a bounty going on. And to this day, he still makes no bones about it that he doesn't like the Vikings. I mean, I can't. So, but as much as I hated Favre, I loved him. But Aaron Rodgers, no. If he ever becomes a Viking, I'll officially burn my Viking jersey.
Oh, my goodness.
On B-Hawk Live. I will burn my Viking jersey.
Wow. No.
I will never speak the Vikings again in my life.
Oh, no.
Aaron Rodgers is that big of a chump in my mind.
But he has to follow him.
Other than that, I'm on the fence.
Did anybody
into a whole room of darkness, A-Train?
Yeah,
he needed a whole darkness retreat. You got to go on a building with one window to get your mind right. Come on, dude. You're a diva. You're like Antonio Brown. You're a diva.
A diva for what? You're talking about Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers craves attention. He craves attention.
You're talking about Aaron Rodgers.
He's a diva.
I thought you were
divas crave attention.
That he had there for a minute. Yeah,
Never that.
Oh, God,
I would never disrespect you that way.
I swear, I thought the same thing.
I tell you what, when he started in on me, I was about to take the gloves off, because I told Jerzey, I said, just remember, when you come on tonight and I school you on the debate, it's nothing personal. It's nothing personal. And Jerzey was about to make it personal, I thought. But he redeemed
Aaron Rodgers is a diva. Aaron Rodgers is a drama queen. Aaron Rodgers is an Antonio Brown, just at a quarterback position. Everything has to be on me. The spotlight has to be on me. It's all about Aaron.
Right. Aaron has to go on the Pat McAfee show.
I was tested, but he ain't gonna say I was tested for COVID. It came back. I was COVID positive. He said I went and got myself immunized. Bro, what the hell does that even mean? You got a bunch of shots? You got a bunch of shots, but it wasn't the COVID. It wasn't the COVID shot.
Yeah, how come he wasn't held up to the same standard? I'm pretty sure that they made. I'm pretty sure they made it mandatory, right? So how did he ever get? So how did he ever get by without any kind of disciplinary action there, when he basically admitted that he didn't do it?
Because Tom Brady was no longer in the league. Oh no, I'm wrong. Because Tom Brady didn't make it an issue.
Oh,
if Tom Brady would have said, "Hey, why does Aaron Rodgers get to sit here and say this, that, and the third, and not let us know for sure did he get immunized for the COVID shot or not?" Then we'd have a different conversation. Because if whatever Tom Brady says goes.
I got a comment on Mike's comment. I remember that game like it happened yesterday.
I'll let you have the floor.
And to this day, there was only 2 plays in the over 50 years of watching the Vikings, there's only 2 plays that made me go out in the street and walk it off. Okay? There was 2 plays that made me walk it off. One was the year that Steve Young was still with the 49ers. The Vikings had that playoff game in hand. Steve Young starts scrambling, and there must have been, I don't know how 15 players jumped on his back when there's only 11 out on the field. But somehow or another, they all missed the tackle, and he scored and beat them at the end of a game. That was the first one. I was outside a good 45 minutes that time. And I had old ladies looking out the front window wondering what that noise was while I was yelling going down the street. The second game was when Antonio Freeman jumps up for the ball. I believe it was Monday Night Football. The ball literally goes through the Vikings' hands, lands on his back. Freeman eats like a plate of nachos, then realizes the ball's left his back, picks it up, gets up while the Vikings are all sitting there staring at him. Well, wait a minute. I just thought of a third play. Okay.
Oh, gosh.
So I give Mike that one. The third play, you want to talk about flags not being thrown, was back in the 70s when Drew Pearson got the bomb from Roger Staubach on the Hail Mary in Minneapolis that beat the Vikings at the end of the game on an obvious offensive pass interference. And Jersey, you weren't even a thought in the 70s. And your team was favored then. Your team was looked at as America's team back then. The Vikings have been getting screwed by America's version of America's team. That's all. I got to quit because I'm going to dream. I'm going to be having nightmares all night. It's just going to be going from Steve Young to Antonio Freeman to Drew Pearson back and forth.
I got one. I'm going to be a mess. Listen, I got one for you. Come on, out of all of that stuff, you mean to tell me those 3 out of all of the years for the Vikings, and not once did you mention the 1998 NFC Championship game?
Oh, my God. You want to know what? Let me tell you a story about that game. I was a season ticket holder for the Vikings that year. I was in the stadium. And when that happened, literally, I was the last fan to leave the Metrodome that day. I was lifting my feet for the guy with the broom, sweeping the nacho box and the pretzel wrapper and everything out from underneath my feet. And to make matters worse, I leave that game totally devastated because you know what? The owner of my company, my boss at the Ready Mix company, told me before I went to the game that weekend that if they made it to the Super Bowl, he was paying my way for me and my wife to go to that game, all expenses paid. I was so ready for that. So then, fast forward, now the game's over. And I think I walked 15 blocks to get to my car that was 2 blocks away. I get in there. I'm driving down the interstate going west through Minnesota. God awful. Never failed. Back in January, it blizzard. Every time we drove home, it snowed. So on the way home, we go through a blizzard. We're in this little ho-dunk town because I needed gas.
Oh, gosh.
My wife and 3 kids were literally bawling in the truck because I would not pull over. They wanted to get a hotel because of the weather. I was so pissed. I wanted to drive straight home. My wife threatened me with divorce if I didn't stay. So we found the last room in a hotel. It was an old ho-dunk town of about 1,000. Still had wood panel in the rooms. A big old TV in the corner of the room. We got in the room. My 3 kids and wife fell asleep in 5 minutes. So I'm laying in bed, and how many channels do you suppose are on that TV? There's 3 channels on that TV. Every one of them was a post game show that I got to listen to 3 different channels all talk about how the Vikings choked, and I had to lay up all night long and listen to that after I made the trip to that game. Golly.
Ooh, wait.
Gary Anderson didn't miss a field goal all season long, and he missed that field goal in the fourth quarter that would have cemented it. Thank you very much, A-Train. Now I got 4 games that I'm going to be.
Oh, wait. There's a
The
thing.
Queen says,
There's a thing.
my mom said I will never go with you again to another game if you don't pull this cock off.
Golly.
Listen, Daddy Ed went through the ringer with that one. Divorce?
Yeah. Yo, this was the other one. I'm glad. I'm so glad Russ brought this one up. When the Vikings played the greatest show on turf in St. Louis.
Oh, bro.
Oh,
And
my
you
God.
know, the Vikings were ahead at halftime.
Yep, they sure were.
Chris Carter caught a touchdown pass right before halftime. They went up 17-14 at half.
Sure
What
did.
happens the second half? Opening kickoff of the second half, Hakeem runs a kickoff back. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go again.
Oh, man.
And my wife and Amanda both are sitting there right now, and they're saying to themselves, how does he remember all these plays like they happened yesterday? It's because they get scarred in this big league. Now you know why. Now you know why the big rig calls me 5 Daddy Ed instead of 4 head. Instead of 4 head, he calls me 5.
Oh my
Listen,
goodness.
Jerzey, I'll never forget those 2 games. The reason why I remembered that 98 game so much is because I was rooting for Randall Cunningham to get to his first Super Bowl. He hadn't been, he had never been. And they were going against Atlanta, who was all about the dirty bird and all that crap. I hated it. And I was rooting so hard for Minnesota to get there.
And if the Vikings would have had any sense of a defense that year, it would have been a cakewalk. Because their offense was unstoppable.
I remember all of that and how great it was, man. And I was really rooting for the Vikings that night. But then I think Randall, and then they switched off to Jeff Joyce. So I was like, all right, forget the Vikings. So now it's about the Rams.
Dante Coleman, I'm sorry.
No, Culpepper came. He came a couple years later.
Culpepper was before. Yeah, Culpepper was before.
It was Jeff.
Then Dante. And so Jeff had the game, and I'm like, oh my God, they about to really give the Rams a beatdown to remember, because it was Chris Carter and Randy Moss that you had to deal with. The year before, Randy Moss had that big year in his rookie season and stuff. And so now I'm thinking about this game, and I'm like, I just hope the defense can stand up to this team. They wound up giving up 37 freaking points to the Vikings. But like Daddy Ed said, remember Oz Hakeem, the first play in the second half, he take it back for a touchdown. So,
oh my God.
It's already looking up.
Dante Culpepper was his own worst enemy. He come in and he could have been a beast for years. But I was still season ticket holder when he was playing. He would not run out of bounds for nothing. Every time he scrambled, he wouldn't just run out of bounds. He always had to stay in bounds and lay his shoulder into somebody. By the time that season got into week 10, week 11, week 12, the guy couldn't even stand. He couldn't even throw a ball because his shoulders were so wrecked from trying to lay everybody out instead of just running out of bounds.
I'm sorry.
He cut his own.
Woo, that was too funny to me. I mean, other than the fact that probably one of the worst memories I can think of from a playoff standpoint was the game where the Rams had lost to the Panthers thanks to Steve Smith in double overtime, going deep from Jake Delhomme. that's probably the worst football memory I probably had. But man, I feel for you, Ed, like so deep, man. Like you just don't understand. Jersey too.
We moved to St. Louis. I could not stand the Rams. Even when I was living here and 5, 6, 7 years went by, I could still not stand the Rams. And if you notice, if you were a true Vikings fan, you would notice. But who was the Rams, one of their major, besides the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who was one of their major thorns that they always had to deal with? They got the better of the Vikings, but they always had to play the Vikings. And I think that just like I developed a true hate for the Rams, I think Kurt Warner developed a true hate for the Vikings, because if you just watch him now, watch him on all the pregame shows, whenever they talk about a Vikings game, he'll never pick them. He'll never say anything good about the Vikings. He always looks for the first excuse to say they're not going to win, or they're not capable, or they're not a playoff team. Just listen. Next time they talk to Kurt Warner about the Vikings, listen to what he says.
I hopefully one day
I love the guy. I love the guy, but he is just as much of a homer against the Vikings as I am for him.
He hates the Vikings. You can tell.
I'm sorry.
Even when he was on the Cardinals. Even when Kurt Warner was on the Cardinals and we had to play the Vikings, it was the same feeling that he had when he was on the Rams.
Yep.
Purple Peter Eaters, I hate you.
Now here's something Mike says. Mike said he lived right down the road from where Culpepper went to high school, and he said, "Man, it's basically forgotten these days." Yeah, Dante is forgotten, man. Like, people don't understand, man, the type of arm he really had. See, now Jamarcus is different. Jamarcus was forgotten because he was just trash to begin with. But see, my thing is
of football history, not even
other than him and Ryan
history.
Leaf, they like tied for that top bust of quarterbacks and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But my thing was,
you're right, David. I'm not sleeping tonight. I'm telling you. I'm going to go to bed and just play each game in my head. Just as pissed off as I was.
Wait a minute. Wait. You can go to YouTube. Them games is all right there in full. They'll be right there, sir. I'm sorry, Daddy.
Too.
Listen.
It'll be remastered for you too.
Wait, and to make matters worse, it's the 25th anniversary. Back in January was the 25th anniversary of that game.
It sure was.
My basement must be 65 degrees, but right now I am sweating.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. I want to do this real quick, and then we're out of here. I promise you. Okay. I was having it now. Believe it or not, I had a conversation with Dirty, and Dirty was talking about dual threat quarterbacks. Now, you, Daddy Ed, you got to see a quarterback that was a scrambling man in Minnesota with Fran Tarkenton. So me and him argued that he was not a dual threat quarterback. The reason why I say that for this reason, because a dual threat doesn't scramble for his life. Reason why: Fran Tarkenton was sacked 483 times in his career. If you look at guys like Randall Cunningham, you look at guys like Steve Young, you look at guys like Michael Vick. I use that term dual threat quarterback because in an instant, they could take off the minute the ball is hiked to them. Fran was just a guy that was running for his life to make a pass. I will
tell you, you are right. To be a dual threat quarterback, you have to have that fear of the quarterback taking off and running. Never once did Fran Tarkenton scramble and run around with the idea that he was going to run. He was running around scrambling for his life to hopefully keep the play alive, so that he could throw the ball to somebody. It was never about running. So No, he was not a dual threat
So
quarterback.
thank you. And I told him, I said, like, Randall Cunningham is probably one of the first dual threat quarterbacks. I know Randall had an arm out this world, but he could take off if he needed to get either a first down or a touchdown. He could get the yards when needed. Steve Young is another, because Steve could take off running if he needed to. Now we have guys these days. You say that again?
We're gonna leave Doug out.
No, I'm not leaving. When I look at Doug, I look at Doug as a pocket passer. But again, like you said, Doug did not have the type of career like Steve and Randall did. Doug did get the Super Bowl win. He did get that, and that was very historic. But if you look at his career, it's not labeled as a Hall of Famer like. And that's a shame. Randall Cunningham should be on that list, but he's not. But he was listed as a dual threat quarterback. Steve Young was that guy. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Steve Young had about 2,000-3,000 yards in his career as a rushing the ball. So he was a guy that could take off if he needed to, I guess. And I know Michael Vick is one of those guys that we look at that could do it all. You know, he can almost throw the pass and catch it himself if he needed to. That's how fast he was. But that's what I wanted to like. We looking at guys. Mahomes is another guy that I'm not a big Patrick Mahomes guy, but I look at him as a dual threat quarterback. You know, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. You know, Jalen Hurts these days will take off running before he dares, make a pass, even though he has a great arm. But see, those are the guys, I look at. But he was literally had this conversation. He said Grant Tarkenton was a dual threat. No, that's not the case at all. And I know
a quarterback who ran for his life. He was a pocket passer who ran for his life.
I wanted to get that out
when he started running. Fran knew exactly what he was doing when he
exactly.
When he
I definitely wanted to get that out there.
So,
and I think these days we're looking at guys like the Caleb Williams and stuff like that. These days we're starting to see more of the pocket passers getting back into play and things like that. But I'm like, there's still going to be a dual threat quarterback that's going to be needed in most of these systems, because without it, that's right now, that's almost a difference between you winning and losing at some point.
Yeah.
If you can't utilize your arm, you definitely
mobile now. If your quarterback's not mobile now, and I don't mean to cut you off, but this is all true for everybody that's watching. If your team's quarterback is not mobile now, they're not as good as other quarterbacks. They're not going to be looked at as good as other quarterbacks. Let me say it like that.
Elway is another.
You have to be able to move. You have to be able to extend the play. You have to be able to use your feet to gain yards when there's no wide receiver open. You can't be one of those pocket passers who stands there, and if they see nobody's there, they just gonna wait for the lineman to come and sack them. Do you know what I mean? No. Yeah. Nowadays, you have to be a dual threat quarterback who can not only throw the ball, but run the ball. And it doesn't matter what color you are, because everybody's like, oh, there's more mobile quarterbacks that are black than there are white. Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow can get out there and start moving if he needs to. Yeah. Josh Allen would lower his shoulder like he's a running back and run at you. So it's now more so. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter none of that. At the quarterback position, you need to be mobile. It has to be part of your game now.
So we got to get out of here.
So let's do this, A-Train. Let's finish the way we started. Put my official prediction up on the screen.
Okay,
here.
We'll do that, and then we closing out with that. All right.
And then I'll be quick. Okay. All right. So just as everybody continues to let that soak in and breathe that in. Okay, you can take it away now. I know I shouldn't be being that way, but in my hand, I hold the Karnak 2024 UFL final list of teams. Jersey is the Vegas Vipers in my envelopes. You'll have to stay tuned to see. That titanium base tape I got on the back will only be revealed once they announce the teams. But before we let you go, Jerzey, and I really appreciate you coming on with us tonight, why don't you tell everybody that may be hearing you for the first time where they can find you?
Okay. You can check me out on the Gridiron Podcast on YouTube every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time. And that is the with an A Gridiron Podcast, and it's on the YouTube channel. But you have to actually go to my Jerzey the King channel to watch the show. As of right now, we haven't moved over yet. And also, I do the Fang Gang Nation show on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I haven't done it in a while because there hasn't been any relevant news really like that towards or for the Vegas Vipers. But you can follow the Fang Gang Nation show on Twitter or X, whatever you like to call it. You can follow the Gridiron Podcast on Twitter and Facebook. You can also follow myself, Jerzey the King, on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all the other social media platforms that are out there. And tune in this Saturday for episode 42 already.
Yes, sir.
Of the
Congratulations,
Gridiron.
man.
Well,
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on. I was more than happy to have you be a part of the losing team tonight.
We'll see.
But you're always welcome. You're always welcome
Definitely.
on my show. And like I said,
Thank you for having
we
me.
always finish with the bottom line, right? Because that's the name of this show. The 8 teams that will be in this league will be revealed. And that's the bottom line because Big Daddy Ed said so.
Yes, sir. We out of here,
Thanks,
man.
Jerzey.
Sir.
Thanks,
No
A
problem, guys.
Train.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it, A Train.
All right. Y'all have a good night.
Have a great night, everybody. Peace out.